All right, we've got a very special treat for you on Off the Ball this evening. I'm delighted to be joined by, I was going to say a man who needs no introduction, but he's one of those figures, one of those iconic figures in world sport. You don't need the surname. All I need to say is you're very welcome to Off the Ball. Sonny Bill.
How are you? Great to be here.
Delighted to be talking to you. We haven't even had to arrange time zones between Australia, New Zealand, any of that, because Sonny Bill Williams is right here in Dublin.
Dublin, man. I love it. I love it. It reminds me of South Ireland and New Zealand, to tell you the truth. Very scenic, very beautiful, and I'm actually surprised at how beautiful Ireland is, because when I've travelled here with the All Blacks, we've only just stayed in the city. So that athlete lifestyle where it's training hotel, but being able to come and experience Ireland a bit better, mix and mingle with the people. It's been great. It's been a great experience.
There's probably similarities as well with small countries. Word gets around quickly that somebody from outside has arrived in, a big name has arrived in, because definitely over the last few weeks, there's been a lot of talk and a lot of people spotting somebody that looks very like Sonny Bill Williams around South Dublin. What's brought you over here, for anyone who's not aware?
Andy Lee, short and simple, Andy Lee, former middleweight world champion, legend in his own right. The boxing brain, came under the guru, one of the best coaches, I believe, in boxing history, Emmanuel Stewart. He lived with him for 10 years. Then he was also trained by Adam Booth. And so obviously he's got that pedigree from a boxing point of view, and he's stepped into the space of being a boxing trainer now. And I actually came over to support Joe Parker in his last fight with Chisora. And Andy Lee was nice enough to let myself into that intimate space, which is that inner sanctum of the boxing circle come fight week. So I got to see firsthand how he works, how Joe was progressing and how Joe was looking. It was amazing. I connected with Andy straight away, just not so much from an avid boxing fan's point of view, but just from a man in general. He's a really good guy, as you know. And then I asked Joe, as soon as I got back to Australia, pretty much, knowing that I was going to get back in the boxing ring, I said, "Oh, do you mind if I ask Andy if I can do some work with him, potentially do some work with him?" Man. Now I'm here in sunny Dublin.
If only. Back in the boxing ring, because it's been something that's been almost ever present throughout your rugby career, even over the last 10 years, in and out of the boxing ring. And when it's on the other side of the world, you're never quite sure how serious it is, and if it's a bit of a sideshow at times, what the reasoning behind it. What is the reasoning behind it? What is the reasoning, having given up on rugby and all the success there, that you still want to get back into a ring?
Yeah, well, I must admit at the start it was a bit of a sideshow. For me, the reason why essentially, initially got into the boxing ring was through necessity. I was in £1 million or, close to £1 million debt. I had to pay that off. A lot of people don't know that when I broke my contract and went to France, I had to pay $1 million to get out of that debt, or just over $1 million. So
right, because that's one of those situations that when you read about it, you sort of assume, well, the club will take care of it, or there'll be an insurance policy or something. You actually find yourself owing the club back in Australia £1 million.
Yes, so everything happens for a reason, but at that time the struggle was really real in that sense. My friend at the time, Anthony Mundine, was a ex-footy player, 2-time world champion. I think he was world champion at the time. I went back and he asked me to jump on the card and he'd be able to knock off some of that debt that I owed. So that's the initial reason why I got in the boxing ring. And then, maybe after 3 or 4 fights, that fire was lit inside me, where I started just loving the sport. And although I've had 8 weeks training, I've never really given it more than a couple of months at a time focus because of rugby. Now, having to finish rugby and retire due to my knee issues, I still had that passion as a sportsman. And, at the time I just thought, okay, I'm going to delve into something else and move away from the sporting scene. But I still had that little itch, like, what if I give boxing, 24 months of my time and effort and see where it takes me. and I asked my wife at the time, let me train for a few months. Would you mind if I train for a few months and see how the body feels? Would you mind if I got back in the ring? And she was all for it. So better place now, like, thank God, alhamdulillah, I don't have to, like, I have a bit of financial freedom. I'm not fighting purely for the money. I understand that when you fight, for me, we're in a place now where a guy like Jake Paul can fight and make a lot of money. It's not probably if you can fight, it's if people want to watch you fight. I understand that process, but for me, yes, in that journey, in that challenge, ticking those boxes to see where I can get to in the boxing career, I need to be able to train with guys such as Andy Lee. And in order to do that, I need to have these fights that people want to watch, makes a bit of money in order to, pay that way, So, but at the end of the day, the thing that gets me out of bed every day and has lit that fire is the challenge. That's probably the deep part of it.
That competitive spirit isn't something that's going to go away too easily.
Yeah, and I think at 36, if I can do this for a couple of years and transition out of sport like that, I've done everything else in sport at the highest level, that I've tried to. I've gone to the Olympics with the sevens. I've been won World Cups in rugby, won Super Rugby titles in rugby, won NRL titles in rugby league, so I've never really given boxing my whole attention and my full heart and soul. And, I know where my level is in a boxing sense, but...
Well, I wanted to ask you about that because everything I've ever read about you is that even as a kid, you were this athletic phenom that, whether it was sprinting or cross country, you were the best at it. As you mentioned, rugby league, you get to the highest level. Rugby union, you get to the highest level. In your head, how do you deal with knowing that you probably can't get to the highest level in boxing because, you're friends with Joseph Parker, you see the level that he is at. You are working with Andy Lee, who's working with the best of the best in Tyson Fury. Like that, I'm sure realistically, that's not going to happen in the space of 2 years. How do you deal with the fact that from being the best of everything you've done, that at this, it's a different satisfaction you need to get?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just being the best me. And I think we all can have dreams. For me, it's, reach to the stars, be the best that I can be, but understand that, I should be grateful to still be able to do this at my age. You know what I mean? And I think being an athlete, a natural athlete, having that really, I guess, fast twitch fiber type of athlete from a youngster that, yes, it's diminished over time, but I can still handle my own at this age because of that. It's allowed me to still be an athlete in the ring at this age. So, I got I've got no qualms, or I understand where I am in the sport, but it's not going to stop me from being the best me, and striving to be as good as I can be. So, that's the challenge. That's the challenge, and it's just it's a very exciting process to still be able to do this.
Does part of you still dream? Does part of you still think, if I go and I knock out Barry Hall and then have another fight in 3 months, that a bit of momentum might build over the next couple of years? And
I would love to have momentum, bro. I'd love to have momentum because, over here, what I've realized, and it's been quite a humbling experience, just walking the streets in Ireland, get recognized, and, you guys love your rugby. And I've always had that mad respect. I always felt like I've had that mad respect over here. And the other thing that you guys seem to love over here in the Northern Hemisphere is your fighting. So I think, if I can have a couple of fights, have a couple of good fights and a couple of good wins and build a bit of momentum, I could have a fight over here. It'll be, obviously, there'd be levels to it, but it could get a bit of attraction and a bit of an audience. But at the same time, I'm a realist too. And I know it's right now, I've got to focus on today because I don't have the luxury of growing up as a boxer. There's still those struggles, and I'm just doing my best, bro. That's all I can do.
What are the differences you've noticed over, particularly since you've retired from rugby and you're able to give this your full attention, and you're getting to work with, one of the best? I know Andy Lee's coaching career is still in its infancy, but he's coaching Tyson Fury, Joseph Parker. There's a huge boxing brain there. If you're getting to spar with a Tyson Fury or Joseph Parker, or even I saw you were in the ring with Niall Kennedy, who's such a popular figure in Irish boxing. What are the things that you're seeing that they're doing that the 20 years you missed out on, you just can't catch up on?
Oh, just subtle things. It's probably, when you grow up playing footy, little things that you do, efficiency is what I would say. Efficiency, and you're not. That's probably the big thing that I'm learning with Andy is, okay, I might not have all the tools or the tricks but I still have my own strengths, and if I can be efficient in those strengths and tidy up a few areas that I need to tidy up, then I'll give myself the best chance possible. But I'm not one to cry over spilt milk or think of the glass half empty. I'm always glass half full. And yes, I always think, oh man, I could sit here and think, oh man, imagine I've done boxing since I was, for my life, but I didn't get to. But I'm still saying, alhamdulillah, I'm still saying thank God for being in the position that I'm in. I still get to see my kids. I still have 4 kids. I've had such a blessed life. So to be able to do this right now is such a blessing, and that's the reason why I'm here in Ireland, away from my comfort zone. I knew I had to get that fighting spirit in me. I had to get that eye of the tiger, so they say. And the only way to do that was to remove myself from my comfort zone. I have my own gym at home. My kids are there. I could get a sparring partner, come in. I'll come train. I'll train on this time, but I'm here living away from my kids, having to do my own washing.
Yeah.
I get a text at night from Andy, and he's saying we're doing this today. And we ran 4 kilometers up a mountain today and back. With Paddy Donovan, and he's as quick as ever, and you're trying to stay up, and you know what I mean? It's going to other people's gyms, fighting guys, and for me, that's the thing that I need to do, be the best me.
Being around Paddy Donovan, is it the first time you've been in a room where you've thought, God, maybe I'm not the best looking man in this room right now?
I call him the boxing Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah.
He's an Irish man, traveler. So he's a good fella. He's a really good guy.
Yeah. That sacrifice, did you need that? Did you need to prove to yourself that I was willing to go away from my family? Because I'm sure that, I don't know what sort of conversation that was at home, considering you've suddenly retired from rugby. Maybe they're thinking, he's going to be around. He's going to be there every day. He's going to be doing the pickups from school and the collections and all that. Did you? Well, you could have stayed in Australia and taken the easy route and probably still got similar fights. Was there something inside you? I needed to get away and commit to this.
Well, I do that. Like, that's me as a father. I try and be present. I do the school pickups and school drop-offs, and I love it. That makes my life wholesome. But if I was going to be serious about this fight game, and not fight guys that are just sitting at home on the couch, fight a different caliber of fighters on my level. I knew that I had to put myself out of the comfort zone and not get my head punched in. If I didn't want that, I had to get myself out of that comfort zone. And hence the reason why I'm over here. And, I was very grateful that Andy and Joe let me come into that inner sanctum and see them work and train, because I got to see the level of those world-class fighters and how it's done. I think it's a bit selfish in a way where you're like, oh yeah, I get to scratch that itch of being a boxer, but at the same time, it's very, very exciting. And at the same time too, it's like, you're a long time retired. You know what I mean? I don't want to be sitting there 5 years and on the couch and being like, man, I could have fought that guy, or you know what I mean? Like, or I could have done this, done that, so it's been a journey though this last 5 weeks. It's been pretty tough at times.
I was reading a piece that Gavin Casey did with yourself and Andy a few weeks ago. Really nice piece. Been out in the gym, actually, I think when you were sparring with Niall Kennedy, and like it struck me that maybe you've got more from this than you bargained for, in terms of you're getting the technical side of it, the very best technical preparation, but you're also back in the dressing room a bit. You've been surrounded by a family with the All Blacks, with club teams. Now, even though you're in an individual sport, I think it's sense with Andy Lee that it's not just a trainer-fighter relationship. It's a lot deeper when you come over to Dublin than just that.
Yes, exactly. Very, very grateful that Andy's opened his arms and let me come into that intimate space. You know, I've been able to meet his beautiful wife more than his beautiful kids, Julia and Andy boy. You know, but I understand. You know, that's why I respect Andy so much, because he's not going to take on a fighter unless he connects with him and unless he believes in what he wants to do, because, you know, he's got his own life as well. And I respect that because I have my own life as well, you know. So, but, you know, it's been cool because I feel like there's mutual respect there. You know, I deeply respect the path that he's walked, and him as a man and how he's gone about his business in that ring inside and out. But I feel like I get that respect from him as well. And I think the underlying principle of this relationship is being real, understanding where we're at, but then understanding that with work ethic and patience for me, a humble mindset and just a work ethic, that I can get better, you know, and get better, and better. And, you know, I've seen the progress in the last 4 weeks under the guidance of Andy. You know, it's been, I've got exactly what I needed. I've got exactly what I hoped for. So I think besides the stuff that I've got from him inside the ring, the biggest thing that I've gained is that confidence. You know, I've gained confidence from Andy, and yeah, it's been great so far. I'll leave back to Australia at the end of next week. So the first phase will be done, and then it'll be the last phase, the last 3 weeks before the fight, before, God willing, I put on a good performance and implement all the stuff that we've been working on.
Interestingly, the fight is against Barry Hall, who's a very familiar name to Irish sports fans. I'm sure you're aware of the history around the compromise rules, that he's maybe not the most popular man at this neck of the woods either.
Yeah, came over here a few years ago now, against the all-Irish side, the all-Australian side. So, you know, he's always had that bit of tough guy persona. He grew up boxing, which is in his favor. But I feel like he's come out and said muscles don't win fights. In regards to me, I feel like, you know, reputations don't win fights. You know, we get in the ring and we'll see. It's just gonna be me and him. So I'm definitely not scared by his persona, because I was once a tough guy on the field too. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, we're gonna have to fight, me and him. And I'm really looking forward to getting out there and showing what I've been working on these last couple of months.
By the sounds of it, you put the same internal pressure on yourself to perform in the boxing ring as you did with the All Blacks, but the outside noise is probably a lot less. Is it? Do you feel, I guess, being an All Black, you're inside a goldfish bowl. Like, we all know the insanity of the New Zealand support, the pressure that is put on to deliver, to win every single match. And in fairness, you pretty much almost went through your career with the All Blacks by winning every match. I think it was 4 defeats throughout your Test career. Is there a freedom? Is there a freedom of that? Of, all right, the entire nation's, the weight of the entire nation isn't resting on my shoulders when I walk into the ring?
Well, I think it is, to be honest, because when you've been a successful sportsman, that pressure is always there to perform. And for me, the biggest pressure comes from within, you know. And I've always been like that, and I always will be like that. But, you know, and that's driven me it's helped me to get the success I've gained, I guess, within the sporting world. But when it comes to boxing, it's very personal for me. It's about trying to be, I guess, it's just trying to be the best me. And I feel like if I'm the best me, then I can be a decent fighter, you know. And I think you just have to keep it that simple. What I say, when it comes with that glass half full mentality, is that being able to have played in the biggest games, that rugby and rugby league and sevens has to offer, it's allowed me to understand what it takes from a mental point of view to help me combat and fight the pressures that boxing brings. Yes, it's an individual sport. Yes, you can get knocked out, but at the same time, it's still sport at the highest level. At the same time, you still have to manage your nerves. At the same time, you still have to stay calm. So, you know, I think that's gonna be one of my, I guess, one of my strengths in the ring. And then
You can fall back on all them processes you've learned over the last 15, 20 years.
and going from sport to sport in rugby and rugby league and sevens are three totally different sports. So what some of the tricks that I learned going from sport to sport, I've tried to use that in the square office in the boxing ring, and I've found that there's been quite a few things that I've been able to help cross over.
What are they?
Just how to pick up things differently, I guess. How to stay calm in certain things and understand the understanding of why the reason why this is so hard in rugby is because it's so unfamiliar to me, because I come from a rugby league background. But if I use for example, if I use when I would wrestle someone in a rugby league point of view, instead of thinking I've got to use all my own strength, I'll use his body weight, and then you kind of maneuver around, and you can, if you do that, that saves you a lot of. It's more efficient. So I use that type of style in rugby union. I wouldn't fight against the guy when his body weight was low, trying to go into a ruck. I'd use it, and I'd let him fall down, and then I'd turn fast, swivel, get on the ball, maybe maybe in a clinch, in boxing terms, instead of fighting against him, his body weight's coming, just slowly take that step, turn, stay calm, understand that that's the bread and butter of what boxers do. For me, you have to learn that, you have to pick that up. So just things like that. I always try and use how I change from sport to sport, rugby to rugby league.
Yeah.
It helped me a bit.
Parking your ego is obviously important there as well. Like having that willingness to learn, because you were a superstar in rugby league, you moved to rugby union, you were a superstar in rugby union, you go to sevens. The easy thing would be to think, this should come naturally to me. But actually, having that humbleness to say, I got to go back, I got to learn the basics. That's the key to all this.
Yeah, definitely. For me, having that humble approach to a new sport is easy, because I understand without that, I'm not going to get far. But it's actually been really cool working with Andy, because he sees my deficiencies. He understands things that I'm not good at, at all. But then he sees things that I've got. He sees my strengths, and he'll work it around so we can use that way or do it in a different way. So to still keep that learning up, but then also still keep confidence in what I do actually have. So yes, it's a long journey, but it's an exciting one, Do
you miss being an All Black?
No. I don't miss rugby or rugby league at all, to tell you the truth. I don't, maybe because of all my time's taken up with the boxing.
Yeah.
But, it's funny, like, yes, my knee, I couldn't handle the rigorous training of rugby league in the end with my knee. But with boxing, I don't know what it is. It's just maybe not the wrestle, maybe not the tackle, maybe not the constant up and down or whatever it was, or my body just feels the best it's felt for years. So it's I definitely don't watch rugby. I always look at it like, when you watch I went and watched the Ireland and Wales game. Got there a little bit early, and watching the warm-ups and I was like, I used to love like kickoff. I used to hate the warm-ups. I used to hate,
right,
by the end, because it was so monotonous. You know what I mean? I think, you miss. I don't miss it at all, but maybe if I was to sit and think about it, it was pretty cool playing in those big games.
The knee issues, like for those last couple of years, was there a constant pain? Was it every match, a huge amount of rehab, prehab? We're protecting it, having an acceptable level of pain?
Yeah, it got so. I think I've had over 15 operations on my knee. I start off on the lateral side. I've got no cartilage there whatsoever. But in 2019, it was the first time I hurt the inside part of my knee. So it's on the inside, and for those that know much about knees, The reason why you get away with having cartilage, no cartilage on the outside of your knee is because most of your weight goes through the inside of your knee, 80% of it. So that was the first time I had a little bit of injury, had to get a little bit of cartilage taken off from the inside. It wrecked me. I struggled. And 2019 World Cup, I got injured in the third or fourth game. I was feeling great. Hitting all the markers that you want to hit, all of that type of stuff. And then I got struck with that knee injury, and the doctor said to me, look, you might have to retire from this, I remember sitting there, feeling a little bit sorry for myself type of thing. But then I just thought, we'll see how it goes. I'll just try and rehab it the whole year and see if I can come back. I pretty much had to rehab it the whole year. And then I think I played the last Super Rugby match of 2019. I played all right. I played good enough for Steve Hansen to pick me in the South African test the next week. So having pretty much 6 months or 5 months off, going one game into the biggest test match of the year. So that was pretty tough. But I still played solid. And then I had to play a couple of club games, and I didn't know if I was going to get picked. I didn't make the squad that went over to Perth that year, and they played Australia. I got sent down to play club rugby. So I thought, that's it. I might not be making it now. So, it's kind of like, because I was always going to retire from rugby. I thought I was always going to retire. Big chance that I would retire at the end of the 2019 season. And then, the boys got absolutely pumped against, you remember that game in Melbourne when Australia beat the All Blacks by like 30 points? 40
right.
points? So, then I got a call the next week, said, bro, you're in the team.
You're back.
But not only are you back in the squad, then on the Tuesday, we rocked up for training and the team gets named yet, number 12, Sonny Bill Williams. So, my fortune.
Like calling Batman.
And then we won that game, I think 35-0, and then I made the World Cup squad. So I forgot your question, bro. But yeah, that's where about the knee. So yeah, sorry, man. I'm just talking.
Yeah. When did you play your best rugby?
I don't know.
When do you look back and think, God, everything was just easy?
I think I reckon I had some great years too. I love the even when I played for Crusaders, the Chiefs, and I went back and played Sydney Roosters so we won. We made the final of the Crusaders campaign. I was playing for the All Blacks. The next year, I went to the Chiefs, who had come last the year before, second to last. We won the competition then. Then I went back to rugby league, and that Sydney Roosters team had came second to last the year before. We won the competition there. 2000. I feel like I always loved the big stage. I always seemed to play my best footy at World Cups, for example. That's when I used to thrive because I just loved the big stage, bro, I guess. So.
Were you different then? Were you different around the big games? If we were to talk to your teammates around the week of a big game, would they sense that you were buzzing off it?
I don't know. I always felt like I was quite the same type of guy. I was always my prep was, I always strove to be the best at my prep. And plus I had to always manage a knee injury. So, it drove me to be pretty driven in that sense. But I just love the big stage, bro, I don't know what it was. Maybe the fear of failure. It's quite like I said to Andy after our last spar yesterday. I said, before the spar, I said to him, I hate this, but I love it. And I said, you know what I mean? And he looked at me with a smirk and he was like, I know what you mean. You know what I mean? Because, it's a bit like before a massive rugby game, like you hate it because it's so, for me, it was so daunting, so nerve-wracking. Like, man. Oof. But then when you walk out there and you face those fears and you walk to that pressure, you walk to that mountain. You're like, man, this mountain seems massive today, but you just go, and then you get to the top. You walk in the shed after having a good game, and you look around, and the boys respect you for what you've given to the team. And like for me, that's what I love. that's the thing that I loved about rugby. And for me, after fight, it's a mad feeling. I haven't.
Yeah.
It's an amazing feeling, even after a spar, because it's like, for me, it's not like I've been doing this my whole life. So I'm going in the ring with the Irish champion. I'm going in the ring with Tommy, the European cruiserweight champion. It's like, ooh, I'm here. I'm a bit nervous.
You're alive.
Yeah, exactly. So like I said, like, to be able to do this at my age still for the next couple of years, I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah, for the next couple of years, but by listening to you over the last while, it does sound like you've thought and you've had to think about what's next, what happens in 5 years' time, and I guess how you satisfy that competitive itch. Are you preparing yourself mentally that there may come a time where you just got to be that guy sitting on the couch watching on, or do you think there's always going to be a bit of Sonny Bill Williams that, sore, bad knee or not, you'll be doing something?
No. I'm quite content being away from the sporting field. For me, this was just an itch. Like I said, it was something that I knew, God forbid I go out next fight and get knocked out, and then that's it. I don't believe that's going to happen, but it could happen, and that's it. So, but I'll be able to sit back in 5 years' time and be like, well, at least I went down that avenue. At least I gave it a bit of time. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So for me, with my Kevin young kids, I want them to strive to be the best at whatever they want to be. But I want them to strive and have that discipline and that drive and that focus to be the best at what they can be. But, when it comes to the future, for me, I'm a man of faith, and that's that's my fallback on. Like, that's my everything. That's what gives me purpose. That's what allows me to do the things that I can do. And, I think post sport, I think I want, and I know that competitiveness that the effort that I put into being the best sportsman I can be, I've striven in the last maybe 10 or 15, whatever it has been, to be the best man I can be. I know in order to be the best person of faith, I need to delve into that and get stuck into that side of things as well. So, there's always something to hang your hat on and give you a bit of purpose, and for me, that's my faith. But like I said, at this stage, I still feel pretty good. I'm still in pretty good nick. So to still be able to do something like this at this level, although it's not at the world-class level, it's still at a high level for myself. I'm very grateful for it.
I'm sure your family can't wait to see you back home over the next week or so, and you'll have a few stories to tell of your time in Dublin. What's been the highlight then? You said I think you got down the country a little bit. You're out around the Dalkey area. Have you seen some of the sights and the sounds?
Yeah, it's a bit flash out these ways for me, but
you met Bono?
Yeah, we're just having a sing along just before.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I thought you were going to hit me up to sing for you then, but
well, go on. What do you got? What do you got for us? A bit of YouTube?
No way, no way.
Streets of No Name?
Yes, nothing for me, brother. I think for me, the most blessed thing about being over here was just the humbleness of people, being recognized and how nice Irish people are. There's a reason why us Kiwis have a great affiliation with the Irish lads, on that rugby pitch, because you guys are good people, and I can see it, and my intuition was right just being here. It's been great, and then also going through a bit of hardship in the sense that I missed my family. I went through maybe last week where I was just, man, what am I doing? And what am I doing? But then I went through a stage where I'm like, the growth is, yes, that distance has made the heart grow fonder of my wife and my kids. But then also understanding that I've gone through that hardship. I've washed my own undies. I've put my own food. It's made me more appreciative of things in life.
Yeah. I'm sure you've got a warm welcome everywhere you've gone, because I think there is a warmth towards you, like there is with a lot of those All Blacks players, and a massive respect for what you've achieved and the way you've conducted yourself. And I think everyone's going to be really interested to see how you get on, particularly against Barry Hall, where you most certainly will have the people of Ireland behind you.
Beautiful.
Sonny Bill Williams, an absolute pleasure. Best of luck with it all.
Thank you very much for having me, guys. Cheers, brother.